Error correction in English teaching. Error correction is a fundamental aspect of language teaching, but traditional methods can sometimes be counterproductive. A transformative approach focuses on creating a positive learning environment where learners feel comfortable taking risks and improving their language skills. Welcome to Error Correction in English Teaching. In this audiobook, we delve into the essential role of error correction in English language teaching, ELT. While errors are a natural part of the learning process, how we address them can make all the difference in a learner's journey. Join us as we explore effective strategies for identifying, correcting, and learning from errors, fostering a positive and empowering environment for language learners. Whether you're an experienced educator or just starting your teaching journey, this audiobook will equip you with the tools you need to elevate your teaching and support your students' growth. Focus points. Understanding the importance of error correction. The role of error correction in language learning. How effective feedback promotes fluency and accuracy. Error correction strategies. Identifying meaningful errors that impact communication. Techniques for self-correction and peer feedback. Creating a positive and supportive learning atmosphere. Prioritizing what to correct. Key areas of focus: grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and spelling. Tailoring corrections to learner proficiency and individual needs. Cultural sensitivity in error correction. Recognizing the influence of cultural backgrounds on language learning. Respecting individual differences and learning styles. Learning outcomes. By the end of this audiobook, listeners will understand the significance of error correction in fostering effective language learning. Learn a variety of strategies to implement error correction sensitively and constructively. Identify key areas of focus for error correction based on learner needs and contexts. Develop skills to create a positive learning environment that encourages risk-taking and supports language acquisition. Gain insights into cultural considerations that influence language learning and error correction approaches. Focus point 1. Understanding the importance of error correction. Error correction is essential in language learning as it directly influences learners' ability to communicate effectively. By addressing errors, educators help learners recognize gaps in their knowledge and provide the necessary feedback to foster improvement. Research shows that immediate feedback enhances learning outcomes. For example, a study by Hattie and Timperley, 2007, found that feedback, when done correctly, significantly impacts students' academic achievement. In the context of language learning, this means that timely corrections can clarify misunderstandings, allowing learners to adjust their language use accordingly. Consider a scenario where a student says, "I go to the store yesterday." By correcting the verb tense to went, the teacher not only helps the student understand the proper usage of past tense, but also reinforces the connection between grammar and communication. Teaching is not about answering questions, but about raising questions, said Albert Einstein, emphasizing the role of inquiry and correction in the learning process. To enhance the effectiveness of error correction, educators should strive to provide clear, constructive feedback that focuses on specific areas for improvement. This can be achieved through guided practice and regular assessments to track progress over time. Recommendations: implement routine feedback sessions where students can reflect on their language use. Encourage learners to ask questions about corrections to promote understanding and retention. Use rubrics that highlight specific areas for improvement, making it easier for students to focus their efforts. Focus point 2. Error correction strategies. Implementing effective error correction strategies can significantly impact learners' progress. It's essential to adopt a multifaceted approach to address various aspects of language use. Encouraging self-correction empowers learners to take ownership of their mistakes. For instance, if a student makes a grammatical error, asking leading questions can prompt them to identify and correct it themselves. Peer correction is another valuable strategy. When learners work in pairs, they can discuss and rectify errors collaboratively, reinforcing their understanding of language rules. A study by Storch, 2005, emphasizes the benefits of peer feedback, indicating that collaborative learning can enhance linguistic skills. In one case, a group of students engaged in peer review improved their writing quality significantly, illustrating the effectiveness of this method. As Maya Angelou wisely stated, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Creating a supportive environment encourages risk-taking and minimizes anxiety related to making mistakes. To implement effective strategies, educators should also provide specific, constructive feedback. Instead of simply pointing out errors, explaining the underlying rules can foster deeper understanding and prevent the recurrence of mistakes. Recommendations: incorporate self-assessment activities that encourage learners to evaluate their language use regularly. Design collaborative tasks that facilitate peer feedback, fostering a sense of community in the classroom. Develop a feedback framework that emphasizes strengths and areas for growth, providing a balanced view of learner progress. Focus point 3: prioritizing what to correct. Not all errors carry the same weight in language learning. Therefore, prioritizing corrections is crucial. Focusing on errors that significantly impact communication will ensure that learners gain the most benefit from feedback. Grammar errors, such as verb tense misuse or subject-verb agreement issues, can lead to misunderstandings. For example, saying, "she go to the park," instead of "she goes to the park," could confuse the listener about the subject's actions. Prioritizing these types of corrections can enhance clarity and comprehension. Additionally, vocabulary errors, such as using inappropriate words, can lead to confusion. A notable instance is a student who mistakenly says, "I am full of food," instead of "I am full." This not only affects clarity, but can also alter the tone of the conversation. Addressing such vocabulary errors will lead to more effective communication. A study by Ellis, 2009, supports the importance of focusing on errors that affect comprehension, showing that learners benefit more from correcting significant errors than from attempting to address every mistake. As Helen Keller once said, "Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement." Focusing on meaningful errors can foster a sense of achievement in learners as they see their progress. Educators should consider the context of the communication and the proficiency level of learners when deciding which errors to prioritize. Focus point 4: cultural sensitivity in error correction. Cultural backgrounds and experiences significantly influence language learning. Therefore, it's essential to approach error correction with cultural sensitivity, recognizing that learners may have different perspectives on language use. For instance, a student from a culture that emphasizes indirect communication might struggle with direct language correction. Understanding this context allows teachers to adjust their approach and provide feedback in a manner that aligns with the student's communication style. A study by Cramsch, 1993, highlights the connection between culture and language learning, illustrating how cultural context shapes learners' understanding and usage of language. For example, students from collectivist cultures may find public correction intimidating, while those from individualistic cultures may view it as a standard part of the learning process. "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world," said Ludwig Wittgenstein, emphasizing the importance of understanding the cultural dimensions of language. Recognizing these differences enables educators to create a more inclusive learning environment. It's vital to respect individual learning styles and preferences. Some learners may respond better to implicit correction techniques, while others may prefer explicit instruction. Tailoring feedback to accommodate these differences can enhance the learning experience. Recommendations: conduct cultural awareness training for educators to better understand the backgrounds of their learners. Implement diverse teaching methods that cater to various learning styles and preferences. Encourage open communication with learners about their preferred correction methods to create a more personalized approach. By addressing each focus point in detail and providing practical recommendations, educators can enhance their approach to error correction, ultimately supporting learners in achieving greater proficiency and confidence in their English language skills. Enhanced language awareness. By engaging with error correction techniques, learners develop a heightened awareness of the English language, including its rules, structures, and nuances. This increased awareness allows students to recognize their mistakes and understand why corrections are necessary. For instance, a study conducted by Bichner and Nock, 2008, revealed that students who received targeted error correction significantly improved their writing accuracy over time. This reinforces the idea that awareness leads to better language proficiency. Consider a case where a student previously struggled with subject-verb agreement. After targeted corrections, the learner began to identify errors independently, leading to improved writing quality. This demonstrates that effective error correction not only fixes current mistakes, but also equips learners with the tools to avoid similar errors in the future. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire, said William Butler Yeats, underscoring the transformative potential of education in fostering awareness and understanding. Recommendations: integrate reflective practices where learners analyze their own written work for errors, fostering awareness. Encourage discussions around grammar rules and structures, allowing learners to explore and internalize these concepts actively. Use visual aids, such as charts or grammar guides, to reinforce the rules associated with common errors. Improved communication skills. Implementing effective error correction strategies fosters improved communication skills, enabling learners to articulate their thoughts more clearly and accurately. By addressing errors that significantly impact communication, learners become more proficient in expressing themselves. A notable example can be seen in a case study by Lee, 2003, which showed that students who received regular feedback on their spoken and written language demonstrated a marked increase in clarity and coherence in their communication. For instance, a student who consistently mispronounced certain words may have faced difficulties during oral presentations. However, through focused pronunciation corrections, the same student was able to convey ideas more effectively and engage the audience. This improvement illustrates the critical role error correction plays in enhancing communication skills. As George Bernard Shaw wisely stated, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. This highlights the importance of clarity in communication, which effective error correction can promote. Recommendations: incorporate role-playing exercises that encourage learners to practice speaking and receive feedback on their performance. Provide opportunities for learners to present topics and receive targeted feedback, fostering improvement in communication skills. Create a peer review system where learners can offer constructive feedback on each other's communication. Increased confidence in language use. Effective error correction contributes to building learners' confidence in using the English language. When learners receive constructive feedback that highlights their progress and strengths, they are more likely to engage in conversations and take risks in their language use. Research by Macmillan and Norman, 2002, emphasizes the connection between feedback and learner confidence, showing that positive reinforcement leads to greater willingness to participate. Consider a learner who initially hesitated to speak in class due to fear of making mistakes. After receiving balanced feedback that acknowledged their efforts while gently correcting errors, the learner gradually became more confident, actively participating in discussions. This transformation demonstrates how a supportive approach to error correction can empower learners. As Ralph Waldo Emerson stated, "Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail." This perspective aligns with the idea that constructive error correction enables learners to overcome their fear of failure. Recommendations: implement a success board where learners can showcase their improvements and achievements, fostering a sense of accomplishment. Encourage positive peer feedback, allowing learners to recognize each other's progress and strengths. Offer individual feedback sessions that focus on achievements rather than just mistakes. Development of self-correction skills. A significant outcome of effective error correction is the development of learners' self-correction skills, empowering them to take ownership of their learning journey. By encouraging learners to identify and correct their own errors, educators help them become more autonomous language users. Research by Purdy and Oliver, 1999, indicates that self-correction leads to deeper learning, as students engage with their language use critically. For instance, a language learner who has been taught to identify common errors, such as incorrect verb tenses, may begin to self-correct in their writing. This ability to self-monitor and adjust their language reflects a deeper understanding of English grammar and syntax. Education is a progressive discovery of our own ignorance, said Will Durant, highlighting the importance of self-awareness and self-correction in the learning process. Recommendations: introduce self-assessment checklists that allow learners to evaluate their work before submission, promoting self-correction. Conduct workshops on self-editing techniques, helping learners develop strategies for identifying and correcting their own errors. Foster a classroom culture that values self-correction as a vital part of the learning process, encouraging learners to view mistakes as opportunities for growth. Alignment with learning goals. Effective error correction aligns closely with learners' overall goals of achieving fluency and accuracy in English. By focusing on meaningful errors and providing constructive feedback, educators help learners progress toward their language objectives. A study by Ferris, 2002, supports this notion, indicating that targeted error correction can lead to improvements in overall language proficiency and goal attainment. For example, a learner aiming to pass an English proficiency exam can benefit from focused error correction on the specific grammar and vocabulary areas highlighted in the exam criteria. By addressing these areas, learners can make measurable progress toward achieving their goals. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, stated Eleanor Roosevelt, illustrating the importance of setting and pursuing learning goals. Recommendations: establish clear learning objectives at the beginning of the course, allowing learners to understand what areas they need to focus on. Regularly review progress toward learning goals and adjust error correction strategies accordingly to ensure alignment. Encourage learners to set personal language goals and use feedback to track their progress over time. In conclusion, the outcomes of effective error correction in English language teaching are profound, enhancing language awareness, communication skills, confidence, self-correction abilities, and alignment with learning goals. By implementing tailored recommendations, educators can cultivate an environment that supports learners in their language acquisition journey, leading to greater success in their English language proficiency. Conclusion. In conclusion, the significance of error correction in English language teaching cannot be overstated. This audiobook has explored essential focus points that enhance learners' language proficiency and confidence. Here's a summary of the key focus points. Enhanced language awareness. Learners become more cognizant of grammatical rules and structures. Improved communication skills. Effective error correction fosters clearer expression of thoughts. Increased confidence in language use. Constructive feedback builds self-assurance in communication. Development of self-correction skills. Learners gain the ability to identify and correct their own errors. Alignment with learning goals. Focused error correction helps learners achieve their language objectives. Based on the insights discussed, here are some practical recommendations. Encourage reflective practices and self-assessment to enhance language awareness. Foster a positive learning environment that prioritizes meaningful communication and risk-taking. Implement strategies for self-correction, empowering learners to take ownership of their language learning. Align error correction techniques with learners' goals to maximize the effectiveness of instruction. The overall learning experience from this audiobook underscores the importance of error correction as a vital tool in English language teaching. It equips learners with the necessary skills to improve their language use, enhancing both fluency and accuracy. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this audiobook. Your interest in improving your English language skills is commendable. If you found the content valuable, please like, subscribe, and share this audiobook with others who may benefit from it. Remember, the more they listen, the better they speak. Your continued engagement is essential for your growth as an English learner, and we look forward to supporting you on your journey to mastery.